Hi, I'm Robert Perry, and I'm with Kyle O'Donnell today. And I wanted to introduce Kyle to you because Kyle is super huge into environmentalism. And when I met Kyle, it was at a District 2 Libertarian convention, and he knew I drove a Tesla, or he asked something, did you bring the Tesla? And I didn't even know who he was, but turns out he brought his too. And we spent like half the day comparing notes on Teslas, but it turns out he's into EVs in general. So he knows a lot on EVs, and we talked about EVs, we talked about
nuclear power.
We talked about nuclear power.
Yeah.
So it was like half libertarianism, half environmentalism.
Yeah.
But you wanted to talk about the environmental footprint of the U.S. military.
Yes. So when we think of the environment, many people think that environmentalists want to use the force of government to control and coerce people, to make the environment a better place.
And what better exemplifies the force of government than the U.S. military?
Yeah, exactly. And so, but what we see is that the federal government is the largest polluter on Earth.
Right.
And if we were to just take the U.S. military and kind of hypothetically make the U.S. military its own country, it would be emitting as much as many middle-income countries do for their whole country. The U.S. military emits as much pollution as Portugal or Chile. So the scale of the pollution of our very large military is really quite sad because we're engaged. We have our hands in so many places. And so if we scale back our military involvement, as Joe Jorgensen, our presidential candidate, wants to do, that will dramatically decrease our pollution as a country far more than what the EPA does.
That's interesting. And I'm sure you would end up still spending a lot of energy, burning a lot of petroleum on just practice. I mean, just if you're out in the desert practicing around, or Fort Knox, Kentucky, driving the tanks around, you're going to burn a lot. But I'm guessing that pales to the petroleum you burn with a carrier group sailing through the Pacific.
Yes.
I bet it's the projection of force.
Yes,
that
exactly.
Probably consumes a heck of a lot of energy.
Yes.
So another topic you were mentioning to me was you were making a comparison between environmentalism and the same thing with the dry counties here, because if you live in a dry county, and I hope you don't, but if you live in a dry county, you probably see this thing from time to time where there's a ballot initiative to turn it wet, and it's the one time that the churchgoers and the bootleggers are, they're walking lockstep, because
their incentives are aligned.
Right.
They want to keep it prohibited.
Right.
And so we see this parallel between alcohol prohibition and bootleggers and environmentalists and dirty industries.
Right.
So let's say we have some new environmental regulation to curtail emissions, which may seem virtuous. However, there are exemptions in there for existing industries and legacy plant operators to keep many of their old plants.
Well, you'd never get it in.
Exactly.
Otherwise.
Exactly. Yeah. Because if you forced all the old plants to upgrade, you get such pushback from industry. So the compromise that's often made is that this new regulation will just impact future plants.
Right.
And so the current plant operators like this because they can continue to pollute relative to the new plants, and it raises the cost. It raises the barrier to entry for the new plants that are being constructed. So if you're a legacy operator, you love it because it drives up your competitor's cost. So it's a form of regulatory capture to kind of use the government to hurt your competition. Yeah. And it does curtail emissions some, but I think a better way to reduce emissions is not by force, but
Right.
but through better engagement of the electorate in our republic, because
Okay.
our republic is reflected in the values of the electorate.
Right.
And so if we have an electorate that doesn't care about the environment in their personal lives,
Right.
they're not going to elect a republic that cares about the environment, other than a few show issues to placate the environmentalists, you know.
Right. And I mean, that sort of gets back to the whole thing with the theory of moral sentiment.
Yeah.
Because it's the idea. Excuse me, I had a little insect there. But damn environment! It's the idea that you can curb people's behaviors. You can modify people's behavior simply by people wanting to behave in a way that helps them fit in better.
Yeah.
They want to fit in with their fellow man.
Yeah.
They want to be loved by their fellow man.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of part of the thing in society. And
Yeah.
a lot of people don't understand that this is a really old school thing with libertarianism.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is actually Adam Smith's first book. This is the theory of moral. This is the theory of moral sentiment we're talking
Yeah.
about, which he actually wrote before The Wealth of Nations.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that idea.
Yeah.
So I think that's all we wanted to cover today.
Yeah,
Those are
those are the major points. I care much more about how someone lives their personal life and what are people
Right.
personally doing to benefit the environment than when they grandstand and say that the government should do this to make the environment better.
Right.
And I'm like, well, like, we can do this stuff now, us, you
Right.
know? Like, don't wait for the government to do it. Don't have the government force other people to do it. Let's you, me, your friends, and 100 other friends do it. And then,
like get off your butt and be the next Elon Musk.
exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, be the change you want to see in the world. Yeah.
Be the change you want to see. And yeah, if you love the environment, we do too. By the way, I'm Robert Perry. I'm running for U.S. House of Representatives for Kentucky 2nd District. Feel free to go to my webpage, perry4ky.com. There's a donates page there. You can help me out there directly. You can donate your time. Also, there's a candidates page there. You can see all of the Libertarian Party for Kentucky's candidates. You can go check out their Facebook page or websites, donate money to them. Notable would be Brad Barron. He's my up-ticket buddy. He's running against Mitch McConnell. And then, of course, you already mentioned Joe Jorgensen.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Spike Cohen. That's our president and VP pick. And Joe's amazing. I'm really falling in love with Joe more every time I see her. And for a different topic, I ended up being privileged to communicate with Spike on 2 occasions this week. And I don't know if you've got to know him, but he is a really passionate guy when it comes to communication. He's really about listening, which is something we need to be doing. Is we need to be listening to different people from different perspectives. So I think that's all we have for you.
Yep. Quick, simple.
Quick,
to the
simple.
point.
All right. Thanks.
Have a good day.
And a good weekend.
Nice.
Later. Bye-bye.